My goal for July was to read 5 books, and despite 2 of those books being absolute monsters, I actually did it. I read fantasy, apologetics, Greek epic poetry, an incredibly dark science fiction novel, and a Shakespeare version of Star Wars. So, a pretty normal reading month for me. I'm Eric, this is Blessed and Bookmarked, and today I want to share my thoughts on everything I read in July, and we're going to build my August TBR together if you stick around by using the Lord of the Reeds tool. So let's get into it. The first book I read was The Path of Daggers by Robert Jordan. This is book 8 of 14 in the Wheel of Time series, and the first thing I noticed about it is that it was significantly shorter than the previous books that it came, coming in at only about 540 pages. And yes, I realize that describing a 540 page book as short is saying more about the series itself than about this one particular book. Still, I had some hope. Maybe the shorter page count meant that the story would move along a little bit quicker. It did not. There is still a lot of political maneuvering going around. There's a lot of characters positioning themselves to make power grabs, coups going on. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, which can be very interesting. And Robert Jordan certainly has moments where these things pay off, but they are far and few in between. I wish it moved a little bit quicker throughout all that kind of chess playing that he does to position everybody where they need to be. I'm still invested in the world and the characters, even though sometimes they just make choices that drive me absolutely insane. Like, you ever want to just take a fictional character and like shake them up and say like, what is wrong with you? That happens a lot in this story. At this point, I'm continuing because I want to know how everything is going to end, but also partly because I've already read 8 of these and there's no turning back now. Which makes me curious, are you the type of person that could just put down a book or put down a series that you started and not finish it? Because for the most part, even if I don't like a book, I'm going to push myself through it. But a series is different. This is 8 books, and would you give up on it if it really wasn't the most exciting thing? Because books 1 and 2 were really, really good. Book 3 was also good, but then after that, it started to kind of take this really slow pace, and the characters that I really enjoy the most, like Perrin, often don't get that much page time. So what would you do in this situation? Would you give up on it in book 8, or would you continue to read? Let me know in the comments. Next, I finished the Odyssey by Homer. I'm not going to go too deep into this one because I already posted a full review on my channel looking at this ancient Greek mythological text through Christian eyes. In that video, I talked about the longing for home, the importance of endurance, the dangers of temptation, and the importance of loyalty. I'm very happy with the way that that video came out, and I really do think that you'd enjoy it if you enjoy thinking about books through a Christian lens. So I'll make sure to leave a link so you can watch it there at the end. But as a quick recap, I did enjoy the Odyssey more than I did the Iliad, which I also have back here. Partly because the Iliad was like one event with a million different people that you had to keep track of. The Odyssey had many different adventures, the action just kept going, and we stuck with one character and we watched them actually progress instead of just getting killed off after one stanza. The next book was The New Testament Documents, Are They Reliable? By F.F. Bruce. About 15% of the way through this short book, I started to ask myself, is this just a condensed kind of layman's version of his other book, Canon of Scripture, which I had read previously? While there is definitely some overlap in the information, these 2 books are not answering the same questions, which is important to keep in mind. The Canon of Scripture really focuses more on how the books of the Bible came to be recognized, not picked, but recognized as the authoritative text for Christianity, whereas this book is talking more about how the documents themselves are historically reliable and whether the evidence supports the trust that we put into them. This was a really good read, but it would not be a text that I would recommend to anyone who this is their first time kind of being introduced to that subject. While he does define certain terms like textual criticism and source criticism, Bruce does kind of assume that the reader has some type of knowledge already on these things, and so it's not super introductory. All in all though, I did really appreciate this book. I learned some things, and the fact that it was a short book was really helpful because the next one was super long. Dark Age by Pierce Brown took me the longest to finish of any of the books that I read this month. And that makes sense because it's about 750 pages. So yeah, it's a chonker. The Red Rising series has never been cheerful, but this book certainly earns its title Dark Age because it was the darkest of all the books that he's written. The first part is about 150 pages of just non-stop warfare, and it is not glorified. It's not painted to be some like valiant thing. It is just the horrors of war. Pierce Brown is very good at writing kind of these epic battle sequences where they feel chaotic, they feel like exhausting, they feel like you're right in the action, and it really kind of takes an emotional toll. And there were so many heartbreaking moments in this book. There, if you're planning on reading this, I suggest you look up some of the trigger warnings ahead of time because there's just so many things that I was left with my mouth open. Didn't think he would go there. He did go there, and it was very like my wife had read these before, and I just kept saying like, I can't believe that just happened, and she completely knew exactly where I was. And what's kept me kind of really invested in the second trilogy of the Red Rising saga is how this trilogy complicates everything that happened in the original trilogy. The first three books were about tearing down an unjust system and fighting against oppression, and this series talks about what happens after that. Like what happens when the revolution is over, but people are still selfish and power hungry and violent. What happens when we idolize leaders when people don't care about things like loyalty and duty? And what happens when people are trying to change a corrupt world around them and they never deal with the corruption that's inside of them first? I covered a video on the first trilogy and some of the thoughts I had on that, and while this responds to some of those thoughts, I just want to say this is not a Christian series and is not suitable for many readers, but if you do read it, it will give you a lot to think about. Because the truth of the matter is that we're trying to fix a broken world, and while an attempt is important, we try to do so through politics, through power, through wealth, and we have to understand that those things, even our best political leaders, will fall short. And while those things might be means of addressing some real problems that we face in the world, none of them can cure the human heart. Because like this book, we're truly living in a dark age where there is sin and violence and corruption. And only Jesus can fix that. He is the one that can bring light into a dark world, which coincidentally is the name of the final book, Lightbringer. And so I'm hoping that Pierce Brown gives us a conclusion that we can all kind of breathe easy and say, yes, we had a happy conclusion. Either way, I don't think we need sunshine and group hugs at the end of a story to be able to learn something. Cautionary tales can serve as much as inspiration for our lives and material for reflection as those happy ending stories can. And finally, I was able to squeeze in this short book, William Shakespeare's Star Wars, Verily a New Hope. This is Star Wars written by Ian Doescher in dramatic Shakespearean language. I love Star Wars, I love Shakespeare. This is a perfect fit. It follows the events of episode 4, A New Hope, and pretty much is just a retelling of the story while adapting the language to Shakespearean style. There are the big dramatic speeches, there are the asides that let us know a character's thoughts, which is something that we don't get in the films, and there are even Shakespearean's lines that are sprinkled throughout the plays. So if you're familiar with his plays, you'll be able to see those things like, oh, I am Fortune's fool, and other famous lines. There's a ton of incredibly cool original artwork that is made of the characters doing famous things from the movies in Shakespearean attire, and the artistic style is perfect for the material, so I really love that. I would love to see if there were some big prints about this, which I haven't looked at, which would kind of be cool. And one of my favorite things about this is that while R2-D2 sounds like this in the movies, in the book he sounds like this. This golden joy has been a friend, 'tis true, and yet I wish to still his prating tongue. An imp he calleth me, I'll be revenged, and merry pranks aplenty I shall play upon this pompous droid C3PO. Yet not in language shall my pranks be done. Around both humans and the droids I must be seen to make such errant beeps and squeaks, that they shall think me simple. Truly though, although with sounds oblique I speak to them, I clearly see how I shall play my part, and how a vast rebellion shall succeed by wit and wisdom of a simple droid. I love that. Awesome. R2's the best, and hearing his thoughts like this and seeing how he's going to just make sounds at everyone else, but he's actually the mastermind behind everything. It's really, really interesting take. So those are the 5 books that I read in July. So now it's time to pick my August TBR. But there are 2 books that I already know I'm going to read. I know it's cheating, but whatever. It's my reading list. So the first one is going to be The Lightbringer. I have to finish this series. After the ending of Dark Age, I can't just leave it there. I have to finish. So Lightbringer is going to be on my August TBR list. And I'm hoping that Pierce Brown gives us an ending that we can walk away from kind of hopeful with. The second is North or Be Eaten, which is the second book of the Wingfeather series. My daughter and I read the first book together, and she read the second one. As you can see, it's a little beat up, so I might have to get another copy at some point. I spilled tea on this book right before filming this video, so she's not going to be too happy, but it is what it is. I'm going to try to finish this book alongside her. If you've been here for a while, you know that my daughter used to be doing reviews with me on my channel, but I stopped for a few reasons. But if you're interested in seeing us review this entire series together, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see if she'll consider coming back and doing one video where we review the entire Wingfeather series once we're done with it. So this gave me 2 books, but I want at least 5 for August, so I'm going to use the Lord of the Reeds tool to help me do that. Okay, so this is the Lord of the Reeds tool. I'm going to leave a link to it in my description in case you ever want to use it. Essentially, it's a Lord of the Rings themed series of prompts that will help you choose which books you're going to read. So last time I started with Boromir, so I'm going to finish with Boromir, and we left off right here. What you do is you roll the dice. Usually it never works on the first time. Oh, wow, look at that. All right, so 3, we're going to move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and we must continue a series. Again, that's really, really helpful because I wanted to continue to read the Wheel of Time series. Last time I got this prompt, and I'm just going to take advantage of it again and read the 9th book in the Wheel of Time series, which is Winter's Heart, book 9 of the Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. So that's going to be 1 book from my TBR. Let's roll again. So that's 3 already that I have. 11, that's a big jump. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I have to pick from my TBR jar. So while I don't have a TBR jar, I have an Excel spreadsheet that has all the books that I own, either physically or digitally on it. So I'm going to pick a book from there. The way I'm going to do that first is I have to decide which library I'm going to pick from. So these are the libraries that I have: Logos, physical, Kindle, Audible, Spanish books, graphic novels that I own. So I'm going to spin the wheel here to see which one of the libraries I'm going to pick from first. All right, so it looks like I'm going to pick something from my Kindle library. And then I'm going to pick a number between 2 and 176, which is how many books I have in there. Hopefully it's not a book I've already read. If it is, I'm just going to go on to the next number. And it's number 24, so we don't have to go far. Number 24 is Celebrating Jesus in the Biblical Feast Expanded Edition, which is a book I have not read. So I will be reading a book about the feasts that are found in the Bible and how we can see Jesus in those feasts. Okay, so I have 1 more book to pick. I thought that was it, but I got 1 more. So we're gonna roll again. 2, 1, 2. And now I'm going to get a prompt card. So let's see if I can satisfy the prompt card. All right, The Shire, which is my favorite place on earth. Read a book whose author is from the same town as you. Ooh. I gotta do some research. Give me 1 second. All right, so I did some research. The town I currently live in doesn't have that many famous authors from it. The one that it does have, it's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, which is not something that I really want to read right now, but I did grow up most of my life living in Newark, New Jersey. So while Newark has tons of famous people that come from there, the one that I chose to read is Stephen Crane and his famous novel, The Red Badge of Courage, which I've never read. So that last one is going to round up all the books that I'm going to read in August. While I was editing this video, I decided to take a trip to my public library to see if they had any of the books that I wanted. And they did, in fact, have The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. I checked out the fantasy section, and while they had a prequel novel by Robert Jordan, they didn't have the one I was looking for. So, quick breakdown. Lightbringer is going to be in August. The second book in the Wingfeather saga, North or Be Eaten, is also going to be in August. I'm going to read the Kindle book that is about the feast and seeing Christ in those biblical feasts. That's number 3. Number 4, I'm going to continue the Wheel of Time saga and read book 9. And finally, I'm going to round off the month with The Red Badge of Courage and see what else I can squeeze in if there's any extra time. Whew, okay, so that was a lot. Let me know what you read in July. Let me know if anything I'm reading in August sounds interesting or what you're planning to read in August. Don't forget my question that I asked. Are you the type of reader that will abandon a book or series, or do you continue reading? And again, my name is Eric. This is Blessed and Bookmarked. Welcome if this is your first time here, or welcome back if you've been here before. We love talking about books. We love talking about the Bible and learning about Jesus and just sharing in these moments. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss future videos like this one. Share this one with people who you think might find this interesting. And again, thanks for watching. Stay blessed, stay bookmarked.